Yeah, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. I'm Underdog Eats, and I watched the movie Gladiator 2 with the tagline, prepare to be entertained. Well, I was kind of entertained, but not as entertained as the first movie, as its predecessor. Yeah, let's just start with smooth, shall we? We see grain kernels, and we see two hands grabbing into them, and then like you do with sand, you you let it fall out of the one hand into the other hand and back to the other hand. And then we see the camera. We see the shot from who the owner is, and apparently it is Lucius, which was a little boy in the last movie, but this one is 16 years later, after the after Maximus won. But one thing that I found strange, apparently Lucius was the son of Maximus, but when did he cheat on his wife, and he had a wife and a child, but that kid was he was 12 at the end, so yeah, it was definitely already 10 years old. So how, when I know how to, I know how to fuck, but when, but back to the movie. So we see, Lucius squatted before the pot with grain, a bit with switching hands, letting the grain fall through his fingers. And we see a bit of chickens walk around, and I think he's maybe in his garden, because we see a bed where a pumpkin is in, and in here it looks like maybe some beans around, that are around some sticks. So maybe he's in his garden, I think. He tries to grab a chicken, but it walks away, and he goes back to the kernels. A woman said, "Be gentle," and he looks behind him, and we see a woman hanging up some laundry and then going behind the laundry, so kind of disappearing. And we see putting some things in there to make it hang from some rope. And then Lucius came through the laundry, through the sheets, and grabbed her, and they start to make out. And we'll go leave it at that, because if you don't know what's going to happen next, watch the movie yourself. When Lucius became a slave a bit later, his first fight was with a pack of baboons, and the baboons were pretty good, actually. They were done pretty good, but you just know that it was CGI, obviously. But the fight was pretty nice, actually. There was one guy that sat on his knees, and they shot some little darts, from the guard shot some darts in the ass of some baboons, and one of them, went up to the guy and bit him in his neck. And Lucius, ran up to him to shoo him away. But, dude, come on. The moment that baboon has, sunk his teeth in, the guy's neck, he was already dead. Because if you haven't seen baboons' teeth, they're massive and sharp. So, they have some force, to wrap up some meat. So, some flesh. So, look out for baboons. There was one scene, somewhere, that one thing really stood out, and that was Denzel Washington's white ass teeth, because those things were bright in comparison with some other teeth that in that scene. His ones were bright. Not really a good thing, if you have to play in the Roman time, to have some white ass teeth. Just saying, hygiene back then wasn't the thing it was now. And I've seen a gladiator fight in real life too. Here in the Netherlands we have the Archeon, stuff like that. It's a museum park, and it's basically going back in the Roman time. And I was there with school when I was maybe elementary school, something like that. And they had a gladiator fight, and we could decide live or die, and we chose death. So they slit his throat, and really obviously fake blood, and then he stood up after that, and walked off again. It was very, very cool to see, and his blood was very sticky. It's just sticky, it was really sticky. And not as in sticky, but sticky as in candy sticky. It's just sticky. But it was pretty cool to see, and actually I want to go to that museum park again, because I've been there once, and it was pretty cool. So I want to go back. I haven't been there in maybe around 15 years or something like that. So I want to go back. So if you're here in the Netherlands, look it up, Archeon. That is Archeon. Sorry, Archeon. Archeon. Look it up, because maybe you like it. It is definitely interesting, and like I said, I want to go back. Back to the movie. Like I said at the beginning, this movie was just not as good as the first movie. The first movie was definitely a really good movie. This movie, in comparison, was not as good. This movie was more of a 4 out of 5 instead of 5 out of 5. So this movie gets a 4 out of 5. It was still a good movie. It was just not as good as the first movie. I enjoyed the first movie way more, and even though it's from 2000, the filming from that one was really good. Yeah. I just that this movie. It was cool and all, but it didn't really had the revenge and all that the first movie had. The first movie had really the revenge. His family was killed, and then crucified, And with this movie was, I don't know anymore. Years after witnessing the death of revered hero Maximus at the hands of his uncle, Lucius is forced to enter the Colosseum after his home is conquered by the uh, tyrannical empires of who now lead Rome with iron fist. Uh, that's basically it. So he takes revenge of for his village. Less personal, but still kind of personal, you know. Um, yeah, this movie just gets a 4 out of 5. You know, the first movie was just way more personal. You know, his family was dead because of the of co-moders. You know, the biggest dickers of that time. But I'm gonna leave it at that. If likes, recommend a good Gladiator or Roman Empire related movie down below in the comment section. Subscribe to the channel, come join Discord. I'll see you guys next time. Later for the Twilight Zone. Tomorrow you don't get the movie or episode of Twilight Zone because I'm going to Jeff Dunham, the ventriloquist. He's in Rotterdam, you know, tomorrow. So I'm gonna go there. Um, but I will be back on Tuesday with another movie.